Assalamualaikum and a very good day to honorable panelists. My name is Afiqah Binti Zaidi, along with my partner Nurul Najiha Binti Zahari. Today, we will going to present our research topic on factors affecting leadership effectiveness among school teachers in Sungai Petani, Kedah. According to Yuki, it is defined leadership as the process of facilitating individual and collective efforts to understand and influence the people to realize what is to be done and how, and to realize the shared objective. Meanwhile, according to Law et al., leadership effectiveness creates a high level of commitment and motivation for employees, reveals personal sacrifice, and is thought to give a desire to work with high performance. Also, according to Jacobson and House, primarily making personal sacrifices by a leader is one of the most direct ways of showing the value that a leader has for the welfare of the organization. Next, we move to the problem statement in this research. Due to the impact of COVID-19 on our country, the extensive use of technology has a significant influence on online learning in order to limit the spread of the very harmful COVID-19. It leads to very low teacher leadership quality owing for a lack of technological understanding. Besides, extensive deployment of remote learning was one of the issues that challenged the endurance of successful leaders during the COVID-19 epidemic, and they needed to guarantee instructors got training in online learning methodologies. There were several research objectives that will be discussed in this study. For research objective number 1, to determine the level of leadership effectiveness among school teachers. Number 2, to determine the relationship between organizational support and leadership effectiveness among school teachers. Number 3, to determine the relationship between communication style and leadership effectiveness among school teachers. For research objective number 4, to determine the relationship between leadership style and leadership effectiveness among school teachers. Research objective number 5, to determine the relationship between leadership knowledge and leadership effectiveness among school teachers. Research objective number 6, to determine the relationship between leadership experience and leadership effectiveness among school teachers. Lastly, for the research objective number 7, to determine the most dominant factor that affect the leadership effectiveness among school teachers. In this study, researcher has used transformational leadership style for underlying theory. According to Lawrence and Weimala, different leadership styles followed and recommended by researchers are based on using and understanding the context of school. Next, Ninembe et al. Mentioned that transformational leadership or theory changes the qualities and convictions of the pioneers to accomplish more and more. Bess has stated that transformational leadership comprises 4 elements, which are intellectual stimulus, individual considerations, charisma, and motivational inspiration. Basically, this is our research conceptual framework in order to determine the leadership effectiveness among school teachers in Sungai Petani, Kedah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurul Najiha Binti Zahari and I will present about chapter 3, which is methodology. First of all, I will start with the research design. We will use quantitative method in order to obtain the information that we needed. In the context of this study, quantitative method will be used as to achieve the objective of this study. This study also will be based on cross-sectional method in which the data is gathered at the same time from the people who share similar characteristics. We will also be gathering the data through questionnaire distribution. Next, we will use purposive sampling as if because it allows researchers to gain a valuable data and arrive to the best outcome and outcome. Purposive data is a homogeneous sampling and it can avoid error in achieving the data. Our instrumentation We will use a questionnaire based on Google Form. We will divide into 7 section. Section A is demographic background. Section B is our dependent variable, which is leadership effectiveness. For section C is our independent variable, which is organization support. For section D is communication style. For section E is leadership style. For section F is leadership knowledge. And lastly is leadership experience. This table show the mean score table for descriptive statistic that will be used for section A, which is demographic profile. For our pilot study, we mostly got alpha crunchback value above 0.7, which proven that the interpretation is good and acceptable. Next, we proceed to chapter 4, which is result. For data analysis, this is our research objective. For RO1, we use descriptive statistic. For RO2 until RO6, we use Pearson correlation. And lastly, for RO7, we use ANOVA to determine the most dominant factor that affect leadership effectiveness among school teachers. This is our section A. For gender, it was slightly dominant by female with 48.5%, while for age, the respondent was dominant by the age of 25 to 35 years old school teacher. For locality of school, the pie chart shows the stable data, and for educational background, it was mostly responded by bachelor school teacher. 4 years of experience, the respondent mostly comes from 1 to 5 years of experience. For research objective 1, it shows that the mean is between 4 to 5, which consider high. This is our research objective 2, which is to determine the relationship between organizational support and leadership effectiveness among school teachers. The p-value is less than 0.05, so the decision is accepted. For research objective 3, which is to determine the relationship between the communication style and leadership effectiveness, is also less than 0.05, so the decision is accepted. For our research objective 4, which is to determine the relationship between leadership style and leadership effectiveness among school teachers, the p-value also less than 0.05, so the hypothesis is accepted. And for research objective 5, which is to determine the relationship between leadership knowledge and leadership effectiveness, is less than 0.07, so the hypothesis is accepted. For the research question 6, which is to determine the relationship between leadership experience and leadership effectiveness among school teachers, also hypothesis is accepted because the p-value is less than 0.05. And for the last, our research objective, which is to determine the most dominant factor that affect leadership effectiveness among school teachers, is dominant by the factor of communication style because it got the highest standardized beta, which is 0.499. I will proceed to chapter 5, which is discussion of the result. For research objective 1, which is to determine the level of leadership effectiveness among school teachers, for RO1, these factors will fall between 4 to 5 in mean, and it shows that all factors is vital and essential to increase the level of leadership effectiveness among school teachers. For research objective 2, which is to determine the relationship between organizational support and leadership effectiveness, is, according to Rose and Eisenberg, reported that when employers, in this study it refers to the teachers, get support from the organizational peers, they feel more liable for their works. Employers, which is teacher, with high organizational support perform a greater and superior creativity, high commitment and optimal performance, and it will result to their performance in their daily life. For research objective 3, which is to determine the relationship between communication style and leadership effectiveness, is, according to the Towler, the utmost essential keys to the great leadership is communication. A leader with a great communication skill will take a control and coach who lack experience and skill set, and it will inspiring them and assist them to reach their individual goals. Next, for research objective 4, which is to determine the relationship between leadership style and leadership effectiveness among school teacher is, according to the base, leadership style is the key essential on influencing another employee's behavior, which is they can provide direction and goal. The suitable leadership style will promote a good concept such as trust and credibility, being kind and compassionate, and they can recognizing another employee's effort and successes.
Next, for research objective number 5 is to determine the relationship between leadership knowledge and leadership effectiveness among school teachers. According to Bertha and Kramer, which proposed that leadership effectiveness can trigger knowledge sharing behavior among employees because leadership effectiveness improves knowledge sharing behavior by creating unity and belonging perceptions in an organization. Apart from that, research objective number 6 is to determine the relationship between leadership experience and leadership effectiveness among school teachers. According to Yost and Plunkett, focus on how organizations can strategically and systematically leverage on the job experiences to make leadership development most effective. Research objective 7 is to determine the most dominant factor that affect the leadership effectiveness among school teachers. The findings shows that communication styles have a strong effect toward leadership effectiveness. Communication style is the most accurate element that has been chosen by the respondents among the other factors. We move to the implication of the study. Firstly, the role of school management in ensuring the intake of experienced teachers is available in their institution. The school management need to take a concern on the teachers' experience because it will affect the leadership effectiveness among school teachers in Sungai Petani. Our recommendation of this research is for future researchers. Researchers should widen the scope of the study. This is because it will be better if the future study can extend the scope in which by having more number area in Kedah. Not only that, it is suggested to have different type of level for educational sector which is in university level. Other than that, the researcher can mix their method of survey. It is suggested to have qualitative and quantitative method in order to obtain the comprehensive result pertaining to the leadership effectiveness. To summarize, based on the result obtained, there is a significant relationship between all of the variables, which is organizational support, communication style, leadership knowledge, leadership experience, and leadership effectiveness. From this research finding, this data can be used to improve the level of leadership effectiveness among school teachers in Sungai Petani, since all the variables play an important role. So, that's all from me, Nur Afiqah, and my partner, Nurul Najiha. Thank you for your time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.